Hello and welcome. Thank you all for being here today. I'm Nick Rohn, Director of Technology for the Asset Leadership Network, and I'm excited for a conversation with Jennifer Zach and Tacoma Zach from MentorAPM. And as you can see, their logo is a bit cut off, my bad, but here it is in full, along with all our organizational members. A big thank you to them, and especially our patron members for help making programming like this possible. And so before we get underway with today's talk with the Zacks and their AI asset assessment tool, we just want to, again, thank all our members and then mention a few upcoming events because it's shaping up to be quite a year. So we have, and Mike, maybe you could come in because I believe I have missed a Linux event next week. But as you can see, we have the next two ALN Thursday at 3s, and then the start of a new series of programs with ALN CEO Jim Dieter that will focus on Nexus, a book about information and human civilization in the AI age.
Nick, you are absolutely right. This year is shaping up to be a blockbuster. Yesterday, we had a program, our values and benefits with from asset management program with the Asset Management Council. 130 people were there for the hour. It was focused on energy asset management. And thank you for mentioning next week at the ASHRAE Winter Conference, there is an AHR exhibit, and at that exhibit, ALN member organizations have grouped together and are going to be celebrating an announcement that I'm only hinting at here, that the Linux Foundation is going to say that one of our members software code for real estate and building industry assets to communicate with each other will become the umbrella software code for the building industry through the Linux open source coding. This is really big, and I'm not even sure how it's going to impact everything, but it's going to have a major impact. And one of our members, Kimono Numa, who is really good at teaching us about new tools, including artificial intelligence, has used artificial intelligence to create a video that's talking a little bit, hinting at this announcement that I'm not telling anybody about. But Nick, if you can play that video, people will have an understanding of what's happening.
Okay, yeah, just give me one sec to pull that up. And are you seeing that, Mike?
It is on screen.
Okay, I'll play.
Thank you.
Remember when we were trapped to wired phones? Then, freedom. We connected anywhere and anytime. Open source is everywhere, driven by Linux. Yet buildings are black boxes, automated but not smart. The owner's data is trapped. Until now. Break up from the black box. Open with the interoperable building box. Connection profiles. BIM and digital twins. Get it. Use it.
Thank you, Nick. And the Asset Leadership Network is so honored. The announcements coming out next week were mentioned in the announcement from the Linux Foundation. We'll have more on this once the announcement is public. But wanted to show that to let people know it's coming. Shout out to Susan Onuma, whose voice is the voiceover. It sounds like it's artificial intelligence, but her voice is just perfect. She's a partner at Onuma Inc. And it's great to see that. And that was a kind of announcement for what is going to happen next week. Yesterday, I should mention, at the Value and Benefits was the first time a Canadian organization presented to the Value and Benefits. So that's opening up on an international scale. And then today, we're so excited that member organization MentorAPM is announcing and sharing their AI tool to make asset assessment easier. And so happy to have Tacoma Zach and Jennifer Zach from MentorAPM join us. I've checked this out and I plan on using their free 30/30 program to help some of my friends with some of their asset registry and assessments. But we're happy to have Jennifer and Tacoma here to teach us about what have you been up to? What have you created here?
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Mike. Hey, everybody. It's
Yes.
great to be back. It's been what, about a year or so? So I know
I was here just 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
But
Jennifer's in the game.
yeah,
I would love this program you're releasing.
Well, thank you. It's a great segue going from this discussion of AI that's happening with, what you just shared with Linux and everything. And I thought it would be really great to start with just a little bit of a discussion around how do we make sense out of all the hype around AI in asset management right now? Because there's a lot. I mean, everybody's naming their companies AI. They're coming out, every week with AI solutions. There's a ton happening in the space, a lot of froth and frenzy. And how do we get to where do you actually get value? And that's been something we've been talking a lot about. And I know Tacoma's got, a lot of great thoughts on, where the value proposition is right now for AI. And I'm going to throw up a slide from a panel Tacoma was on just a couple of weeks ago at the SWAN Forum, the Smart Water Networks Forum here in Phoenix. And the discussion was around the idea of optimization. How do you optimize in asset management? And so I'm just going to find that slide, but Tacoma, I'll turn it over to you while I find that slide to share.
So, one of the things, Mike, that we were chatting about before, and that I'm always interested in when we discuss with customers and when we discuss on forums like this, is how does this all relate back to this really, really important discussion and topic of asset management, which unfortunately sometimes gets, hidden, confused, whatever, obfuscated. Sometimes people make it too hard. So after we talk about this particular slide, we'll just sort of put things in context and through the lens of asset management. We sort of always distill it down into 4 essentials. We're looking at 4 pillars of asset management. And I think you'll see how what we've done is a huge step forward in facilitating the ability for organizations to get going on asset management. We believe we have taken, and by firsthand experience, one of the biggest roadblocks out. So, Jen, did you want to talk about this at all real quick?
Well, I would love you to elaborate on,
sure.
Why we're talking about choosing productivity over prediction. What does that mean?
Yeah. So, well, let me just take a step back. Any organization, we always would say, look, you need to adopt a framework, a lens, the notion of taking asset management seriously and going down that road. Because we're all faced with those limiting resources. And I think the conversation has probably changed now with the change in administration. It's probably even more so do more with less. And so balancing that cost, risk, and performance, and making sure organizations always understand what their charter is and what they're supposed to do. So they can't lose sight of that overall goal, that organizational goal, like what are we supposed to do with these things? And then because of the limiting resources, they have to prioritize, and then they should be optimizing things. And this is all feeding into what we're going to talk about. So when you prioritize, you've got to understand what assets you've got, and you've got to understand which ones are at risk, or that put you at risk, I should say. And so what we looked at, we said, you know what, we have a number of tools available that satisfy, as we believe, end to end, from A to Z, alpha to omega, the asset management needs spectrum, all the way from the simplest work order stuff all the way through to capital planning, et cetera, whatever. But the challenge has been, how do you go get asset data? How do you actually go and get accurate stuff from the field, know what you've got? As Jen likes to say, have asset visibility. And there's a lot of dimensions to that. And so when we looked at that, we just sort of said, you know what? A big hurdle is productivity, people's productivity. And when we looked at AI, and if we're going to stay on this topic of AI for a second, what we looked at and we said, with all this froth, with all this stuff out there, and by the way, we've taken a hard look at some of the best, call it pre-AI and AI tech that's out there, because we wanted to. Now, I just noticed something. My screen just went dark. Did it go dark for you guys as well, or did I freeze out?
You're frozen. Your voice is still here, but you're frozen.
I just don't understand what's going on here. So unfortunately,
There,
there
you're
we are.
back.
I'm back.
So yeah, let's just talk about the challenges with prediction for a minute.
That's where I was going. So let me just finish up here on that part, because I was actually getting into the prediction versus the productivity part. There are a few tools out there that are pretty good at making predictions. The challenge is they need data, and they need accurate data, and they need massive volumes of it. Even the LLMs don't have a sufficient storehouse of relevant data to make those kinds of predictions. And so the return on investments are very, very difficult. And the additional challenge is, if your CMMS or you're not capturing the data required to make those kind of predictions, then all the predictions are nothing but smoke and mirrors. And people unfortunately make bad mistakes. They make mistakes, and they're often bad mistakes in terms of where they're going to spend money. So what we realized is that AI is a phenomenal tool in order to bring about productivity. And that's where we have focused, where we are focusing on productivity and using that to make people's jobs easier, rather than trying to create predictive models that at best are spurious. There's a reason why industry is really still very, very cautious about AI. So anyways.
What I like about what you are offering is that it is simple and directly applicable and ready to use. Can you tell us the name of what your offering is now?
Sure. It's MentorAPM's Asset Lens Asset Collector. And the particularly cool part, and it's built on a technology that we already had implemented, where we felt we were already the best player in the field for collecting asset data, down to, no matter how detailed you want to go, it was all curated, set of libraries, the whole 9 yards. The lens part is where we look at it and go, this is additional visibility. This is something, there's a sort of a multifaceted element to this thing. It's not only more visibility about your assets, but it literally uses a lens. And so what we've done is instead of, and is this the part where I'm supposed to talk about?
No, I want to pause just a second here. But so the challenge we're addressing, that Tacoma alluded to a few minutes ago, is gathering that data about your assets. And when you're starting an asset management program, you've got to be able to answer 3 questions. What assets do I own? Where are they? And what condition are they in? And I think just about everybody has some kind of experience with the pain of collecting that asset data and doing the condition assessments. And Tacoma, maybe you can speak to a little bit about why that's expensive and hard.
Actually, I'm going to take one step back. I'm not, and that is because we didn't put this in the context yet of asset management. So to summarize,
we've got a time crunch, so let's just dive into condition assessments.
All right. Okay. Historically, the notion of gathering asset information requires somebody to go out into the field and to look at an asset, maybe take some photos, go out with a clipboard, maybe go out with some particular app in Excel or something like that, and document information, read plate data, and come up with some sort of condition assessment based on what they can see. Problematic, or the problem is that it depends on who you send out. It depends on whether they have any experience with that asset. Depends on what their billing rate is. And we know this from all our customers. You send 3 different consultants out, and consultants are great, but you send 3 different people out, you're going to get 3 different results back on the same asset. And it takes a lot of time. Now, I've been out in the field myself, and we were able to bring it down to about 5 minutes, which is historically very, very fast, because it used to take folks a lot longer when I was doing this at Veolia.
That's a per asset minute, like 5 minutes per asset.
5 minutes per asset. Yeah, exactly. And that's, taking photos. And then your data is often in disconnected form. The photos are one platform, data is in another. Either it's a paper or it's Excel or some other, maybe an Esri platform. The idea, though, is that it often could take 30 to 60 minutes, depending on how good you were at. And then you're limited by, again, access to the facility, weather conditions, all that other kind of stuff. We actually suffered that challenge as well. What we've done is basically not truncated. We have absolutely crushed the time down to maybe 30 to 60 seconds an asset. So
how have you done this?
So all you have to do is take a bunch of photos of your asset. Take a set of photos of the asset, 4 photos. It'll stitch it all nicely together. You take photos of the plate data. You take photos of your SCADA tag ID. It captures all that information right on the fly. And it identifies already what type of asset it is, what the tag ID is. So now you have a breadcrumb if you've got an existing register. And we have a couple of versions of this platform as well. And then you can look at all this collected data, because it creates an asset register on the fly for you. And you can then say, oh, well, here's my plate data. And this is where we have the technology where Asset Lens, and we won't talk about exactly how we do it because it's very creative, actually captures all that plate data and puts it into Mentor. So you have all the attributes required for motors, whatever the voltage is, temperatures, all that other kind of stuff. And it does a level 2 condition assessment on anything associated with that asset, where you've designated as the photos for asset condition assessment, in seconds. We tried this. It saw things we can't see because phone lenses and cameras are better than the human eye. And it captures details that we had a team of 4 or 5 people looking at it going, and we didn't even capture everything that our software was able to capture as far as a condition assessment is concerned. And it basically takes about 60 seconds. And so if you're doing about 1,000 assets, what would normally, let's say 2,500 assets, what would normally take 6 to 8 months, plus the expense of sending somebody out to do it. Now you send somebody out with this, they can be in. Every one of our customers have said, I can send an admin out. I can send a summer student out. They don't have to know anything about the assets, because the software does everything for us in terms of the condition assessment, the plate data, and it gives it and it hands it to the customer and saying, now you're free to use this asset information to do part of the EPA program. You want to go for state revolving funds, and you want to put an asset management plan together. Now you know what your assets are, detailed condition assessment about them, and you know where they're at as well. And you pretty well know everything about them. There you go. It basically eliminates 2 of the 5 requirements from the EPA right off the bat.
That is using AI for productivity gains that are tremendous. Congratulations. The industry applauds your efforts.
So I think this is a good point, Tacoma. We thought it best to show a video demo.
Sure.
So Tacoma will play the video, and then we can answer questions and talk about how everyone on the call can give it a try.
Yeah.
Excellent.
All right. There we go. So you see that. I'm going to hit the play button, and hopefully you got audio.
Collecting asset data is costly, time-consuming, and often inaccurate, especially when it depends on who performs the collection. But with MentorAPM's Asset Collector and Asset Lens, we're here to solve this for you. MentorAPM's Asset Lens offers a unique capability. It can start from scratch and build an asset register directly from the field. We've designed this to be as simple as taking a few photos within the app. To get started, just open Asset Collector, select the type of photo you want to capture, whether it's an asset tag, plate data, or asset condition. In this case, let's select photos from our phone's library. It could just as easily be a live camera capture. Once selected, the photos are automatically uploaded for review to ensure that all necessary images are included. For capturing asset tag information, it's just as easy. Choose either the library or take new photos. After upload, the software automatically identifies and captures the tag ID, allowing you to zoom in and confirm accuracy. Next, identify the asset type, give it a name and description, and once ready, press Submit. This creates a record in your evolving asset register. Give it a moment to update through the network, and there it is. To double check, you can navigate to the Collected tab, find the recently added asset, and confirm that all information is correctly captured. You can also capture additional plate data, which Asset Lens can then analyze further. To view the results, go to the main app, open the register, and there they are. All records are created with photos and tag IDs, efficiently organized. But the real innovation of MentorAPM's Asset Lens is its ability to capture detailed condition and plate data from just a few images. For this, we'll call up Asset Lens, select the organization we're working in, download the relevant photos, and submit them for analysis. Let's pick a photo for asset plate data and select plate extraction. In seconds, information is displayed on the left, matched against standard attributes for that asset type. Additional data beyond standard attributes is also available for export. Extracting condition information is just as straightforward. Choose the photo that best represents the asset condition, submit it for condition assessment, and in seconds, a level 2 assessment with action recommendations is displayed. Let's apply this process to a few different assets from an existing register. Using a list of library photos, we can filter for an asset by name, select the image for analysis, and proceed with nameplate extraction. After reviewing for accuracy, if everything looks correct, we can update the existing asset record. Just select the photo, choose the upload arrow to update Mentor, confirm the selection, and the information is instantly pushed to the asset record. To verify, we return to the register, apply a pre-filter to locate it, and there it is. It's that simple, just from a photo. Let's try one more example with an asset known to be in poor condition. Using our library or by capturing a new photo, we quickly obtain a calibrated condition assessment with detailed recommendations. In this instance, the asset is rated a 4 with rationale for the score and relevant action recommendations. I hope this demonstration shows how MentorAPM's Asset Collector and Asset Lens build registers from the field, capture asset details instantly, and validate asset attributes like plate data, ID tags, and condition assessments, all within the time it takes to snap a few photos. On behalf of the entire Mentor team, thank you for watching.
That is awesome, and it generates some questions because you are well known for your expertise in the water industry, but clearly this is applicable to all asset categories, and specifically Cecilia Moat asks if it can be used for bridges and overpasses.
Couple of key things. The short answer is yes. one of the philosophical approaches we have is we keep AI on a very short leash. We let it do what it's really good at, and we want to make sure it doesn't hallucinate. So we have it calibrated against our asset libraries, which has all sorts of condition scores and gradations and stress scoring and that sort of stuff. So the output comes from that. So if the customer has a particular way that they want to engage with or rate their asset, roads and overpasses and bridges and buildings and you name it, then yes, absolutely. And it's tailored to the way they like it, or the standards to which they want to have the output.
Well, that's excellent. There were other questions on that also. Jenny, you want to add anything?
Yeah.
By the way, I'm sorry, go ahead, Jen. I can't tell you. I want to share a little bit about how we came up with this thing and some next developments. So.
Okay, so we should probably answer questions. We're trying to wrap up in about 5 minutes.
Let's just say we will do an official end in 5 minutes. There's a lot of interest in this.
The ALN way, right?
We're not going to push you away. We will go into overtime.
Right. So I think we want to answer a couple of questions that have shown up in the Q&A. First one, are there limitations on asset types or industries that you can use this for? No. We are focused on serving the water and wastewater sector, but actually everything in the whole MentorAPM platform and our libraries and everything is asset industry agnostic. Everybody, whether you're a fleet manager, a facilities manager, you're responsible for buildings, you've got to do a condition assessment, and this can be used for that. So whether you're in oil and gas, water, transit, I better just hold myself there.
No,
I got excited.
No, and you're absolutely right. So transit's actually a really easy one, and the reason is that transit elements are often a part of many water wastewater utilities, as well as industries like oil and gas, coal, and power generation, because they've got rail coming in and out, et cetera. We have fleet. We have all sorts of assets already in there that are those asset types. So it's a simple one as well. And again, if the customer changes their definitions, the outcome gets migrated towards the way they want. So if we don't have it in there, y'all create your own asset types and set of definitions, and it'll calibrate against that.
I've got questions, but I want to get to the ability to test drive this, so that if people have to leave at the bottom of the hour, let's make sure we've got that.
Sure. I'm just going to pop up. Let me make sure I share the right screen.
I put a link there that's driving people to the test drive webpage, and I believe that's what you're calling up.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to call up, but Zoom doesn't want to let me find that. So just hang on 1 second. But yes, if you go to our website, go to the bottom of the homepage, go to the middle of the homepage.
I put a link. They can just click on the link in chat and it'll pop you right.
Yeah, we've got links to try and sign it up, because one of the things that's happened is, as we have shown this, we debuted this at WEFTech, we've met a lot of like, no way, that can't be true, because it does feel almost too good to be true, because it makes everything so much easier. But it is true. We want you to be able to see that for yourself. So we have set up a test drive opportunity. So if you just go to the bottom, you see that 30/30 test drive. I'll take you to a page. There's also a link higher up. Just sign up. You'll get a bunch of emails telling you how to log in. You'll download the app on your phone. You'll have credentials to open up the Mentor app on your desktop. And you'll have, it'll walk you through how to take pictures, assign them, and then go in and run Asset Lens for the condition assessment. 30 assets, 30 days. I tried it on my car and refrigerator. It told me I needed to wash my car. Completely, perfectly transcribed all the information on the tag inside my refrigerator. Did not work on my dog. Don't aim it at your husband and ask it to do a condition assessment. Won't work. But it's about any asset. So, we want everybody to experience this and just see how it works for themselves.
So this is very exciting, and we are going to thank everyone for coming for the 30-minute session, but there's a lot going on here, so we are going to go into overtime. And now you two can relax a little bit. You were so excited to be showing your baby, especially after getting such positive feedback last week. And that's what the um, comments are saying. There's even someone saying, "Give me a call. I think I have an immediate application." That's never happened on ALN Thursday at 3 before. But I'll introduce you to Paul after the program.
That would be great.
So, tell us more about the reception at Swan and what you might have demonstrated there.
Sure. So we debuted this actually at WEFTech, and it had a lot of interest. As I said, we are just leaning right into the wait what reaction and saying, yeah, we know it feels too good to be true. So we've made the trial available for everyone to go. I see a question about what if plate data is not readily accessible, which is often the case in a manufacturing environment. I'm not sure who it is that asked that question, but I think does that mean you can't even see the plate? Or so if whoever asked that question would like to elaborate on what they mean.
I'm going to take a stab at some of it, though, because we did run into this with our existing customers already, where we alpha and beta tested everything. And that is, sometimes things are really high up, sometimes they are hidden behind things, and sometimes they are so corroded and they're really old. There are some things we can do about those things. We do have the ability now to actually stitch together curved photos. So before it was more straight, now the profile challenge has been eliminated. It is amazing what it can read that the human eye can't, and how corroded or degraded the plate data has been that we were able to recover. But if it's physically inaccessible, unfortunately, we can't transport the phone to a place where you can. Now, I mean, if you want to put it on a stick and try and do that, you could try that, but we
Now,
can't.
this is an issue that has come up, even before computers, right? How has this been addressed in the past?
Right. So, well, in the past, you wouldn't know it either. You'd either have to go back to the old logs, and you'd have to go back and like, what did we buy, and that sort of thing. So if you know the kind of asset it is, that you got a bit of a shot at it. I don't want to give too much away. We have a new feature coming out pretty soon that will basically assign whatever information it pulls in to the original manufacturer and calibrate everything against that, including all the spare parts and all that other kind of stuff, so that you've got everything in one spot. So if you don't have that information, you're going to have to go back to the library to kind of find that sort of thing. So old
Same
records.
as before.
That unfortunately, we can't solve
doesn't.
time or
It
accessibility.
feels like magic, but it's not actually magic.
Yeah.
It's like somebody asked us once, how we were talking about hardening assets against natural disasters, and then we were asked, how do you stop natural disasters? And it was like, no, we're not magic. We can't stop natural disasters. We cannot teleport. However, another question that came up regarding condition assessments on facilities, does the Mentor app, just jumped, take into account the FTA-CA guidelines and the methodology to reach the SGR scores? So that sounds like a very specific facilities index. Tacoma, maybe you want to talk about the ability to bring in other indices.
So the answer to the question is 98% yes. And the reason why I say that is because we've already put in let's say the pavement condition indices for roads and airports. They're a natural part of it. So if there's a particular scale or a criteria you have to meet, as far as the score as well, then the answer to your question is yes, we can import that and consume that and have that in Mentor to be a guide.
And then, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say we also have a question about integration. So, what we demonstrated was how the information goes right into the asset register that's in MentorAPM, which is a full-blown EAM platform. For integration with another ERP, BIM, third-party app, right now it's an export, but we are going to be building integrations.
So yeah, yes and no. So there are two elements to the application. One is it's designed on one level for people who have nothing. And so go out and create a register on the fly. And that's why we show that in the video. And it was intentionally designed to provide asset information and condition information for people who either have Excel or paper or nothing. The other part is we can consume an existing register and the same features and functionality then go forward and are asset specific because we've consumed a particular asset. So we can integrate with your
Interesting.
existing ERP or existing software, and we don't care
Love it.
Maximo,
That is
anybody else.
interoperable.
It
So
is.
then, let me, from a layperson's perspective, if you're doing that, we've got this registry, but we don't know the condition. It kind of creates an empty field where the photo will go when the person goes out and takes the photo. It's kind of preset up for that.
Right. And so if the existing register / CMMS can handle the information, great. If not, well, we can hold it and we can feed forward anything that the other CMMS can handle. So there was a distinct intention that we had with this. 100% of the addressable market. In other words, it doesn't matter if you're using somebody else's product. It doesn't matter whether you're buildings, roads, infrastructure, water, wastewater, power utilities. It makes no difference. This is applicable everywhere.
So even your
Tacoma, can you
software
stop sharing?
networks,
Sorry, what was that?
even your software is networking with others.
Yes. Yes. Well, we recognize people have their favorites and what they want to do. The intention here was to really solve this problem for the marketplace. It's like, you know what? You want to keep using Maximo, you want to keep using SAP or whatever. That's fine. We
No,
know
it's
we
not,
have
but anyway.
fabulous product, but you have a need, and this addresses that need. And we wanted to make sure anybody and everybody had access to it. We also industrialize this, and by that I mean we built this with an ExxonMobil in mind. They have been the most exacting customer I have ever worked for, and so when we looked at how solid, how robust, how ironclad we wanted to build this, we built it with ExxonMobil in mind, which means we could launch this to any customer. Doesn't matter whether it's industrial or municipal or whatever.
That is awesome. So it ties in perfectly with the announcement that's going to be next week, because Linux is open source. It's about getting the information around in a secure fashion to the places where it is needed. And you are like-minded with that. So the Asset Leadership Network is so happy to be involved with you, and that you're involved with us and what's happening next week, because so many people want the Maximo or SAP approach, SAP approach, because they think that they want to be in a walled garden, that it's secure. But that's not how information exchanges work. That's not how productivity increases. It increases when the information is securely shared with the software that does the best thing with the information and then reports back in a secure and open fashion also. So I can't wait for your systems to be involved with the systems that are going to be unleashed once next week is announced. So
yeah, no, we're super excited about that. Again, we recognize too limitations on budgets, and forklifting something like Maximo or SAP out, that's never going to happen, because you've got to count. You've got so many other factors, other people in an organization and other divisions that have a say in what software gets selected. This is just something that anybody and their uncle should be using.
Interesting question from Amir about, or Jennifer, were you going to say something?
Yeah, no, I was going to acknowledge that question, so you go for it.
Okay, so is the option of training the model with data restricted to MentorAPM, or can customer train their industry specific data?
The answer to the question is yes, they can. And again, the training is a lot easier than people think. It is, again, we keep AI on a very short leash, and we calibrate the various AI tools that we use against the definitions that are housed inside Mentor. So if you change the definitions and they're according to a particular industry, they will be adjusted as well. So we've actually taken a training approach and crushed that as well.
I also
You-
just want to acknowledge Cecilia's comment. Sounds like the registry will work with enterprise systems like capital accounting that allow for cross-functional strategic planning and asset management. Yes.
Yes.
So
Please God do that. Yes.
yeah, and that's one of the things, you know, we were at a water finance conference, and, you know, listening to CFOs of utilities say, you know, I've got my job to create capital plans. I don't necessarily understand why engineering is asking me for new equipment, new projects. And so when you can raise that visibility, you've got condition information about your assets. You can show it to the other, or, you know, divisions in your organization that have to participate in strategic decisions. Yes, then we really get into well-informed strategic planning and good asset management.
I want to just go back to one question there about the ERPs, BIMs, et cetera. All our APIs are published, so hopefully other software as well. If that's the case, the integrations they're an afternoon or a day's worth of work. So we got a question about LA fires.
Well, let me moderate some of
Mm.
these because I've got a question. But before I get to the question about how, you know, the example of your cameras knowing about conditions better than human eyes, I want you to go on about that. But Paul Chabin, who I will introduce you to after the program, wonders about the reconciliation function where an inventory can be compared to existing asset records.
I'm just trying to think here. We do have an inventory module, so I'd actually have to talk to somebody
Yeah,
with
no,
it.
I think it's about the asset portfolio inventory, not necessarily inventory, but that's maybe one to answer
Yeah,
offline.
Yeah, there's probably about 2 or 3 different ways to answer that one. So,
Okay. So now, the question about the LA fires,
You know
yeah,
what Marty's asking there, great question, Marty. You know, a question we often get from small rural utilities is this affordable? And, you know, one of the things that we're actively trying to solve in the water space is how to bring world-class tools to the small utilities. Tacoma, I know you've got some things that you could share on that.
yeah. So we're actually trying to crack that nut. You know, you had David Topman on the other week, and he's a great friend of ours. And we've met with some rural utilities. We're looking at some strategic partnerships to seeing how we could do it en masse. One of the advantages that we have actually in Australia is the way their legal system, or at least the way their municipalities and their councils are allowed to get together and buy, let's say, a license and share that license across their different municipal organizations, or at least their different councils. That's something that we don't have a legal structure to do here. So we have to try and come up with innovative ways of doing it. So there's a number of things that we're looking at. We have as a goal, a desire to begin to work down the chain, down the size structure, to go as low as we can and lower, because their needs are actually the same as the big utilities. They just don't have the bench strength and the manpower, et cetera. So, and there's a crisis of infrastructure at the sort of the small utilities thing, because that stuff is failing as well. There's wastewater getting into the environment. There's water loss, lost revenue, that sort of thing. And they have an increasing challenge with declining populations, smaller rural, cost base. It's definitely a challenge that we would love to address. We know we technically can address it in terms of usability, because we've got customers in Australia that are 300 people in a town. and they use, the entirety of the app. So we know that we could do it, scale it down. The question is can it be supported financially? Because we do have some costs. There's infrastructure to pay for, that sort of thing. So we are working on a few ways to try and cover that off. And Marty, I understand, somebody else can help pay for it. There are ways in which that looks good, and what we're looking for is a way to leverage that.
So JD brings up a interesting concept that I had a question about. What about adding fields? Because everyone's registry is different and etc. Is that accommodated?
Well, the short answer is generally speaking, yes. So one, we would be adding fields anyways, because we would be adding the standard attributes from an asset that are guided by what your camera sees, as well as what we know those particular asset types should require. And then sometimes there's extra stuff, and we accommodate for that as well. And we're going to be facilitating data acquisition to something that probably your existing register doesn't have. Well, we can't make somebody else's software do something it's not, able to do,
Right.
but we can push from Mentor house what extra stuff is there and facilitate it somehow that works for the customer if there's an integration done. Otherwise, it's a straight up export, a flat file, or some other format. And,
Yeah.
and then to do it
in the video, in the screenshot, so you can see that, it takes the plate, it houses anything that there isn't a field for it to drop into, for you to evaluate as to whether that's information that you do want to keep. And then you have the opportunity to make choices about adjusting fields in your system of record. There's some features like that. I think this would be, I think we've hit all the questions.
One more question.
Yeah.
What did the camera see in the assessment that you didn't see with your own eye?
We've got a fabulous story. There's a rule that you never do a demo unless you've tried it first. Well, we were doing a demo with our Australian business partners, and they're also consultants, et cetera. So we said, okay, pick any image you want. So it was a bright sunny day. They picked a large dark green transformer, and a very sharp shadow was cast across the transformer. And the condition assessment came, and it was talking about some elements of corrosion in a bolt and this and that. And we're looking and going, man, I don't see anything. Well, I must have made a mistake. No, it didn't, because it isn't just, it's not a simple application. So we said, wait a second, let's zoom in on that particular area over there. Against a very dark green background in the shade, it found corrosion at the base of a transformer around a bolt. I never would have seen it. So then we started looking at other photographs as well. And we're like, where is it pulling that information from? And sure enough, it would find some small insignia on a tank someplace and extract really important data about that. Going like, I wouldn't have seen that. And then obviously, and here's the simplest example for that. When we look in the mirror, we think we look one way. Every time we look at a photo of ourselves that's been taken by a phone, we'll go, I look like that? I didn't know I'm that old, right? So it is amazing the granularity that these phones these days have.
I live alone and I walk by a mirror and I say, who's that other person in the house?
So anyway, so the thing is yeah, we have found over and over consistently that the camera is able to capture images that then our tool set is able to leverage and do things with. Yeah, Jen just pulled up a really good example here. Go ahead and talk about these two examples, Jen, if you want.
Right. When you go to the website, you can download this brochure. But this first picture here, this was a plate that it was impossible to move the hose that was blocking it. And it still transcribed and got the right information into the right fields. This is a picture of a hoist way, way up high, taken from down, at floor level.
About 30 feet up.
It also documented, my resolution here is not great because this was a print zoom in, but it documented all the condition, rust and everything, just from standing on the ground, aiming your iPhone at the ceiling of your plant.
The just actually to speak on that one, it wasn't just the rust. It nailed stuff on the motor, on the coupling, on the chains, on the hoist material itself, and the girders. and in great detail on every one of these. And we're going like, oh my goodness, that was from over 30 feet away. And those were actually Australian pictures. That wasn't even my camera. You're on mute.
So,
There we
no,
go.
I don't think I am.
So I do
yes,
want
I
to
think-
one more thing. I want to talk about one more thing that's
Please.
coming up. So we never stop. We're always innovating. We're always wanting to create the next thing. And we've been playing with something for a couple of years now. And so we just realized this is the next cool part. So I told our customers, I said, oh, by the way, this is going to do thermography for you as well. And they're like, you're kidding. And I said, yeah. So any asset in a state of like a rotating asset that's in rotation is going to have a heat signature. And in the entirety of your electrical system gives off heat. And thermography is one of the 3 big things you would do for electrical. So a customer goes like, holy cow, I have a team coming in once a year to give me sort of a snapshot. You're telling me that I can send an admin out and on a daily basis get a complete thermograph of my entire facility, all my electrical and rotating assets? I said, yep. So again, and it automatically captures all the temperature stuff and knows what's high and where the limits are because it understands what asset you're looking at.
That's incredible. That just changes everything. All right, so now I get to make a statement here. So the tools and processes are accelerating so fast that owners don't even know what to specify. But the tools and processes are there, and they can help us achieve things that we have not been able to do before. You can't even create an ROI on something you weren't able to do before. So
Correct.
we're at a point where it's human behavior has to catch up and understand how to marshal these tools. And I think asset management governance, the things you started with, establishing the importance of your objectives, your mission, making sure you've got all relevant parties bought into it and educated, and then arming them with the tools and the measurable objectives that you're continual improving. These tools themselves are noise, but under the orchestration of proper asset management, they can harmonize and be an orchestra.
I like the way you said that. I would agree. You know, without the structure, these are really cool things to do, but so what? But if you look at asset managers and say you have to make risk-based decisions and you got to get max value from your assets, 2 of the key elements, 2 of the what I consider the 4 main pillars. Well, how can you do a risk assessment, proper risk assessment, if you don't know what the condition of your assets are and if you don't even know what your assets are, never mind their condition? And how do you get max value out of them if you don't know what's going on with those assets? So the starting point is, I always believe, understanding the criticality of your assets, but then you have to understand what's going on with those. So absolutely, it is an orchestration. It's a symphony, or at least it's a very, very needed part of an orchestra. And I would even say in some ways that we're playing first violin.
Very good.
Let's stretch that metaphor. But I think that just raises a super good point. Mike, that, when we stay in the mindset of what is our mission and stay focused on that, that can allow some creativity to start to think differently. There are, the way that we've always done things, we can feel like we're stuck with that. But when we start to think creativity, with creative, I'm going to just bundle that one. When we start to think creatively, we can start to go, okay, maybe I can approach this problem with something entirely different.
Maybe we can solve problems that were previously untenable.
Absolutely. Or solved with way too much money, required way too much money to solve.
So Tacoma, to your opening point, let's not let it be a year. Let's get you back in here as soon as you've got a client that's willing to say, this is what we did, and this is how it helped us improve our asset management process.
Yep. Well, we are actually using this tool ourselves at one of our biggest customers. It's an unusual contractual request we've got, and Absolutely. I mean, we would be happy to find somebody who is willing to pop on as well.
Yeah, we're looking forward to an owner-focused case study of this excellent new tool. Thank you for, I mean, I know you've announced it previously, but your first web announcement is through the Asset Leadership Network. We appreciate that.
This is true. This is
And
true.
we appreciate the attendees. There's a lot of interest in this. And thank you all for sticking around. And Nick is having a bad back week, and I have had bad backs, and so we're not going to close out like we normally do. But we do thank all of the ALN organizational members. We thank all of our patron members. Thank you specifically to Jennifer and Tacoma Zach. Always great to have you on. And next week we have the Michigan Infrastructure Council talking about their 30-year strategic asset management plan. That's going to be phenomenal.
That's going to be awesome. I love what's happening in Michigan.
Yeah, we want to the Zach attack. Thank you, Cecilia. Well, what a wonderful program. Thank you all. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Thank
Thanks.
you, everybody.
Bye.
I'll see you.